What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Winging It Podcast and a Let's Talk Live. Andre, how you doing, man?
I mean, I'm good. Look, 2024 so far has produced a lot of stuff I can talk about.
That is very true. That is very true. I don't know if you guys follow us on Twitter or X at the Winging It Podcast, but we usually have some very spirited, not I wouldn't say spirited, but just some off the wall conversations in the group chat. And Shadow Fox did bring that
And
up. Shadow Fox brought it up earlier this week, and that's why we're having this little quick podcast outside of the normal podcast because we still have our Sunday podcast. We still having that, but we wanted to do this discussion about the power game and why it's at this point it's ridiculous to even be having these discussions. Seeing as how uh, I would say, especially in regards to like Nintendo, for example. There are a lot of people who, because everybody knows that Nintendo's successor console is going to be coming at some point, whether it's this year or next year, it's going to be coming at some point. And there are a lot of rumors, which we'll be talking about on Sunday, of what the specs are and what this is and what that is, and Nintendo hasn't said anything. Back in the sixth gen, Nintendo did play the power game in regards to the big three console makers: Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. The GameCube was a little bit under OG Xbox in terms of power. It was way more powerful than the PS2. But why did the PS2 outsell everybody then, if that's the case? If power is what's needed to drive sales? Well, there's a couple reasons. One, Sony had a stranglehold on the JRP on the RPG market. Period. They had pretty much Square Enix was on lock with them. Plus, they had a stable of mascots that they could pull out at any time and just drop them and it'll sell. Remember, Spyro, Crash were Sony before they let it lapse and it went to Activision. But the other thing too that they had was the PlayStation 2 was a way more affordable DVD player than a standalone DVD player at the time. I don't think a lot of people know that because either A, you weren't born, or B, you forgot. But a DVD player back in 2000 cost a lot of money. You could get a PlayStation 2 and it'd be cheaper than buying a DVD player standalone. And a lot of people jumped on it, to be fair. Um, because they had that whole you could play video games and you play DVDs. So you were good to go in that fashion. Now, as far as the GameCube was a great system in my opinion. I thought it had the best fighting game controller because the GameCube controller was comfortable and off the chain. And of course, they had the Wavebird, which was the wireless controller with the full on rumble that loved. Everybody loved that thing. Um,
It was one of the most accurate wireless controllers at the time.
yep, and everybody loved it. And Nintendo had a lot of exclusive plus third party support. You had like Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, that didn't go nowhere. Smash Brothers, Mario Kart Double Dash, Super Mario Sunshine, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. Uh, what's another one they had that I enjoyed? They had a nice little plethora of games. So once again, and my favorite Soul Calibur 2 version, the one that actually sold the most.
The best one.
And yet, for some reason, we still can't get Soul Calibur 2 HD online. What's up with that, Namco? But I digress. Oh yeah, Trinell, thank you. Star Wars Rogue Squadron. That game was
Oh yeah.
amazing. That game was beautiful, and it played well. The F Zero games that for some reason a lot of people love but didn't buy. The Metroid Prime 1 and 2. A lot of people people like me, I loved it, but didn't sell exceedingly
It
well.
didn't sell as great as it should have.
Yeah. As well, especially as much as people be talking about now. That's why I made a little comment that for all these people talking about Xenoblade Chronicles X, if that is true, that game better sell 30 million in the first 2 weeks. The way people acting on social media, which I doubt is going to happen. So,
No, it won't.
and that's why I wanted to talk about it because power isn't everything. Hell, half the time, and to those people who say, "Oh, well, it was already had outdated software, outdated hardware and chipsets," dude, every console that releases has that same problem. Your Series X, S, and X, and your PlayStation 5, outdated chipsets. You want to know why? Because when they were doing R&D for it, they didn't use you're not paying $1,500 for no console. That's why
No.
you're not.
But I would like to point out one thing, because
Mhm.
technically the chip in the Switch was not outdated because it was the most, well, technically it would have been outdated, but it was the most powerful mobile chip at the time.
But you just said mobile, and people don't
Okay.
understand that. And y'all act like that's a bad thing.
People don't understand that the stuff that's in the PS5 and Xbox Series is low profile stuff. So it's
Yeah,
not going to have as much oomph anyway.
yeah. And and if you are really serious about having the most up to date stuff, you're only gaming on PC. If you're being honest, if we're being honest, if you are true about okay, I want to have the most up to date stuff at all times, you're only gaming on PC and you're broke.
I'm about to say, yeah, you always broke. At that point, you if you are spending that much on your stuff for PC, you are definitely pirating everything.
Yeah, because that costs a lot of money. CES just wrapped up. You get new chipsets, new sound cards, vid cards, graphic cards. You get those like every what 6 to 10 months. Is a new one dropping? Come on,
Yeah,
man.
from the specific companies, yeah, you can probably wait 6, maybe 10 months. But if they're doing like a budget version of the stuff they've already released, you get that every 3 months.
Yeah. So how you have and yet but yet you're complaining about a $70 game. So how can
You,
you
you
afford?
you would think you
Okay.
would think you'd want to spend the money on the software you want to play versus spending more money on the hardware to play the software that's not going to get too much of a visual boost anyway.
Yep. So I ask again, why do you think you need power? Is it because that's what your favorite gaming publication or website told you?
Yeah, that would definitely be it. Because I
Is
mean,
that is
power
that why?
argument wasn't even a thing during the PS2.
No, it wasn't. Because once again, the reason why people bought that thing like crazy because it had a DVD player on it. It was a cheaper DVD player. If you bought a DVD player standalone by itself, you spent more than you did buying a PlayStation 2.
Now, and I'll say this honestly, the PS2 was one of the worst DVD players for that time period. The DVD player in the OG Xbox is better than the one in the PS2, but a lot
Yeah,
of people didn't know that because you needed a special thing in order to use it.
yeah. To use that OG Xbox, Sony's was just you just had to put it in.
Yeah.
So but that's what I'm saying. I'm like because 2000, if you got a DVD player in 2000, you were spending a lot of money. You weren't. It wasn't. They weren't cheap. They weren't $30 like they are now. You can find a DVD player for 30, $40 now.
I would like to highlight what Dark Void just said, but there's an add to that. It wasn't just Digital Foundry. It was pretty much all major gaming publications for the time because they didn't, none of them knew that, hey, different style chipset meant different way to run the code. So, like with the Wii U being Power PC like the 360 was, like the GameCube before it, like the Wii before it, had a different process that was needed in order to run the code on the machine for the game to be workable. Now, move over to Xbox One and PS4, which are both using x86 architecture. You're going to have different code strings that are needed. So you're not going to get the same effect if you just take one from the other, one and place it on the other. That's why you couldn't just put when Xbox One originally came out. That's why you couldn't just put 360 games in there and they all ran because you have to run different code libraries and people still don't understand.
Well, that was one of the problems that when they, if everybody remember, one of the big selling points was they were going to do back compatible with all their games. They couldn't do it. I think it what was the final number, like 2,000 or something like that. They was actually able to get, because it wound up being like, I think the first issue was licensing. The second issue wound up being like they couldn't get the code to work. So there was some games that they just couldn't do. It's amazing how people don't understand how coding works. It's just amazing to me. They just think it's just basically, oh, it's easy to port a game. All you got to do is just plug and play. No, it doesn't work like that. I mean, case in point, Mortal Kombat 1. The Switch and the Steam Deck versions are bad. You can't just, there's not a one size fits all solution for porting. It just ain't.
Nope, there isn't.
So when you have that, you trying to make it for one platform, because just call it what it is. Microsoft and Sony pretty much damn near have, I ain't gonna say identical, but close enough.
It's close
So
enough. Yeah.
it's easier for them to port between each other. But everybody else can't do that. Even on Steam Deck, they can't just do that. It's not
No.
just like my joke of just rollback netcode. It's not. It's not a flip a switch and boom, everything works perfectly and you can see everything clearly.
It ain't a sleeve you can just slide your arm through and call it call it part of your clothes.
Basically, I mean that's why one of the things about Prince of Persia, that Prince of Persia demo, and what's up, Shadowfox? How you doing?
Come on, Jimmy.
The thing about the whole Prince of Persia situation, which is, hey, congratulations, Shadowfox, they finally listened to you. Congratulations.
Awesome. Elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Switch lead platform.
Yeah, you make it the lead platform, and now guess what? 4K 60 works on Xbox Series and on PS5. When before,
No. It's 4K 120.
Yeah, but
actually,
remember when they was promising you all that stuff on Assassin's Creed Valhalla and Marvel's Avengers, they had to send an email telling you, look, if you play on 4K, you got to lock it to 30. Wait a minute. But you said we could do, nope, got to lock it to 30 if you play 4K. Now, if you do 1080, you can do whatever.
The funny thing is, the whole point of pitching these consoles was that it could do these things and Nintendo can't. So why don't you make the Switch lead platform so people can see that it can't? Like it's not, Switch ain't gonna do 4K. Switch is not gonna do 120 frames per second.
But they already told you it wouldn't. So
yeah. So make the Switch games, make it lead platform. They'll be as good as they can be, and then port it to the other platforms effortlessly because y'all spend more money on those platforms anyway. So when you port from Switch, you'll get greater output. Because for whatever reason, whatever talent you have in the house, they get all the money they can to make sure those versions work good. So,
and like I said, because this is basically for you, Shadow. This discussion night is for you on the whole power discussion that we was having in the group chat. You want to take it away?
So I kind of missed what you guys were saying starting it, so I don't know where I'm taking off from.
I was just doing the background of why, like, the GameCube, as far as like GameCube being way more powerful than the PS2, and the only reason why, one of the few reasons why PS2 was the lead and sold so many was because of that damn DVD player. Because it was cheaper. It was cheaper than buying a standalone back in 2000 and 2001.
It was because your mama and daddy could use it to play movies. That's why.
That and also Sony had started by the time PlayStation 2 came around, Sony started issuing checks to Japanese developers too.
Well,
so there was that.
They had the RPG game on lock.
Yeah,
the Japanese RPG game was on lock
because they spent money. They spent money on during the 5th generation. They spent money with Square for Final Fantasy VII. The rest is history. So the rest of Japan is going to follow Sony's lead, per se, right? But then the Western studios needed to get courted too because you got to have your Grand Theft Auto somehow. So this PC game got ported to, became a PlayStation 2 project, and it was the lead platform for that. So it's money, but it's also opportunity. If you think about it, it's like, oh, we can't do this and we can't do that. Yet that vision that you had somehow worked on Xbox One. It somehow worked on Xbox 360. It somehow worked on PS2. And you were able to make these grand sweeping games or whatever that were part of your vision and still fit within the limitations of those platforms somehow. Yes, we know technology advances over time, but you can't tell me that your limitations or your vision or whatever can't fit within the confines of a system that's designed for 720p. Like, it's overkill for 720p, i.e., you can do an open world game in 720p with no problems. So why would you come up with excuses to say it can't fit your vision? Design the game for 720p from scratch, like build the engine 720p, scale it out to the other platforms after that. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, the game will work. There's zero reason why Mortal Kombat 1 looks worse than Mortal Kombat 11.
No reason whatsoever.
On Switch.
Oh, and Steam Deck. On both of them.
So there's zero reason for that.
Yeah.
So and you can't say, oh well the engine is just that much more capable. No,
it's not.
No, they're built on the same engine.
Same
Mortal
engine.
Kombat 1 is the same engine as Mortal Kombat 11.
Yeah.
So you can't.
They didn't make a brand new one for Mortal Kombat 1. They did not.
So you can't say, oh well the assets and all blah 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 blah. I'm like,
same assets.
And
same ones.
Same music
for you to put those assets into that work well for that system. So like,
I need somebody. Ain't it damn near the same music?
Damn near. So I need somebody to tell me. Like, I always have these conversations with people on Twitter and whatnot, and it always ends up, well, they can't do it because of these specs, blah blah blah. I'm like, y'all been saying these specs are holding back shit for years. Y'all been saying this stuff since the PS2 days. Like, these open world games are on PS2. These open world games are on 360. They're on PS3. Like, PS3 probably was the worst setup system for a game engine like that. Yet Skyrim is there. Don't sit here and tell me all of a sudden that it can't happen on Switch, and Skyrim is on Switch. So I don't know what else to tell you. Doom is on Switch. You can't. The excuses are gone. Like, Unreal Engine 4 is there. Unreal Engine 5 is there. So
the RE engine is there.
Yes. So all the excuses.
The very engine that they said couldn't.
Yeah.
Ain't it amazing what 100 million soul can make work?
And so we see games. We see the games with a quote unquote realistic graphic. Like, so for like the difference between like, well, I mean, let me tell you, they both use the same kind of realistic style. But the difference between Monster Hunter Rise and Monster Hunter World and Wilds or what have you, right? It's like, oh well, we got this other version over here, and just say it's money. Just say Sony paid whatever because they want a Japan exclusive version, because Xbox don't sell in Japan at all. So to them, it's exclusive. Version of an open world Monster Hunter game, and Nintendo has their own as well. And now we have these two separate things instead of having one big project and all the effort goes to all the platforms. Like, why we gotta have this weird piecemeal kind of, well, we're developing this one for here and this one for over here. Like, just make the open world game. Like, and you know that you got 3 different platforms, cater to obviously the most quote unquote the weakest, but also the most popular platform. So you get all your sales, and then you port to the other 2, and then they work just fine. So, and now that we have an example of that, which I've been saying for God knows how many freaking years.
You've been saying this is the Wii U, dude, because you said this back in the Games at Large. When we was with Games at Large, you were saying that.
Because I mean, if Wii U was the lead platform, it wouldn't have hurt Xbox One or PS4 at all. They just would have been having more 900p and 1080p games out.
Which they already had anyway, because they couldn't get the damn.
Here's the thing, though, and I've said this before, but people don't say this when it comes to PC gaming. And PC gaming is a range of different setups for the same game, but you have minimum specs that you have to work towards.
This laptop is holding
for PC. This was like, if it works for PC, why wouldn't that logic work for console? If
Especially since consoles are bespoke. Like there's no every Switch is the same. Like it's the exact same operating system for all three models. There's Xbox One and Xbox Series S and Series X. You still see just one SDK as a developer.
You don't see,
and Microsoft handles all the rest in the back end. PS5 is going to be a PS5, right? So you only have 3 targets versus dozens on PC, if not hundreds. So why would you, if it's not an issue and they can magically make it work on a PC port, why all of a sudden is it a problem going from hundreds of different configurations to 3?
Well, I've been saying this, and y'all have heard me say this before, even on the podcast. Like some companies, I don't understand this. Like EA, Ubisoft, Activision, WB, they are not small companies.
Nope.
You mean to tell me you can't have a whole division just separated just for the 3 of them?
I'll say the quiet part out loud.
They used to.
EA did.
Yeah.
Tiburon used to be Nintendo only.
Yeah.
That studio was specifically, they were making N64 ports of the EA games.
Yeah. Because when the GameCube happened, that stuff blew up on GameCube. NBA Street, NFL Street, all that stuff blew up on GameCube.
And then EA said, you guys are really talented. We'll take you away.
And then the NFL 2K Vicarious Vision was like, oh, y'all finagled y'all way into the NFL contract?
Yep.
We'll make the best football game ever, sell it for $20 and watch y'all flounder.
Yep. I just couldn't with people, even with the whole Wii U situation, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had a Mortal Kombat engine game on Switch already. You had Injustice, and all of a sudden we magically can't get. So you telling me that you can't develop Mortal Kombat 9 for you?
Can't
do
Mortal
Kombat 10 for you?
Can't do Injustice.
They can't be done.
Can't be done.
They can't be done.
Do
Even
Injustice
the same
2,
engine.
even though it's the exact same damn game. Can't do Injustice 2.
Like, make it make sense.
But then have the unmitigated gall to get mad because nobody picked who was it? Sub-Zero for the ballot for
Smash.
Yeah, for Smash. Yeah.
Had the unmitigated gall to get mad. Okay. Okay. Yeah, whatever, dude. But ain't it funny how like Iwata said this back in 2006 and nobody listened to him?
And I'm not gonna blame the developers. It's the publishers. It's the publisher's fault.
Well,
it's your job to get it everywhere.
Well, once you get because you got people, let's be real. Most of these guys that run these companies, they hate nerds. They hate nerds. They hate geeks. They don't care.
Love money.
We want you to buy my new yacht so I can brag and show Leonardo DiCaprio he ain't shit. That's basically what it is. You want to know why Cyberpunk released like it released?
Yeah, that was crazy. That was insane.
That's why I'm like, people getting mad at CD Projekt Red. I'm like, this ain't their fault. Not completely, because they had to do what they management told them. They said release that game.
The publisher forced them to do it, and that's why I say it's their fault though, because it's not the studio. Like the studio can only work with what they have. And if you don't give them the money or the time, then
to do it,
what do you expect? You're bad at managing projects. You're not checking in and figure out where your milestones are and where you're at with this game.
You don't care.
Yeah,
you want the end result. The end result is where my bonus.
Yeah, and that's just
the end result. The end result is where my bonus. I'm supposed to be getting a bonus because I'm supposed to be meeting Snoop Dogg, Martha Stewart, and Ice Cube in 30 minutes at the Miami Heat game.
Like, what happened to the game being good and people will come? What happened to that?
They told Iwata that he doesn't deserve to be Nintendo's president anymore because he didn't understand business and that he should be replaced by an American CEO so Nintendo can get with the times.
Now, I'm
not making that up, by the way.
I'm sure.
I'm not making that up. I've heard people say that.
I'm sure. But I won't say it. I know that the pushback would be from said publisher, right? Hey, we spend this money, we make this really good game, and then nobody buys it. That does happen sometimes. That's not the majority of the time, though. You will have your Beyond Good and Evil every once in a while. You'll have some of those games that slip through the cracks, and that's fine, well and good. But that's your risk as a publisher, also, which means that if you know this game is that good and you believe in it, and it's got the how can I say this? If it's got all the journalistic marks or whatever, it is critically acclaimed, but it's not financially doing what you need to do, and you believe in the project and the team believes in the project, then you fund it again for a sequel. That's the gamble you take as a publisher.
But here's the other thing too. It also depends on where you release it at. Because if you release it up against doggone Pokemon, you ain't trying to make no money.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you just ain't.
And you don't launch any game that's like another game and launch it alongside that property. That's
thinking you're going to take some of the. You ain't going to do that. Like there's Pokemon is the only game I know to go head to head with Call of Duty and not blink.
Yeah,
that's the only one
because it's Pokemon.
It's Pokemon, and like the sad thing about it is, most of them damn adults went to go get Call of Duty.
They bought Pokemon too. As much as they were bitching about them N64 trees, they were walking right by them in Pokemon, looking at Snorlax.
You got to take on this gym leader.
Yep.
Yeah, y'all come meet me in Pallet Town.
Exactly.
So y'all can run this fade. Like,
so with this whole thing, what bothers me the most about this, and why I keep having these discussions, is like we're at some point the lies have to stop, because we ran out of excuses in 2009, right? Wii U was overkill for 720p itself. So you could design a game around 720p and whatever shaders you want to throw on there to make it look good or whatever, and you can make a really good game with that. It actually had the capability of doing 1080p because it had a 32 megabyte frame buffer. Big as fuck. That's huge because you can do technically close to 4K with that. 36 you can do 4K with no sweat.
I was going to say technically the Wii U was doing above that anyway because it was drawing the two screens.
So when it comes down to that, it's like, well, the 32 minutes is just for frame buffer and textures and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah. And then the rest of it is art assets that you put in your game. So at that point, what are you putting in your project and what is in your game engine to where it's bogging down the system? Because this
was the time frame starting where game engines were not game engines, but games were left with too many assets sitting in them.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is every frame the game reads every asset that is active. And if you have not removed the assets and they are still registered as active, guess what that does? It slows it down. That's more time for it to process.
Reading to and from memory. So, and my thing is with that too, a lot of these games, not to say they're lazy or they're written poorly or anything like that, but a lot of that stuff comes from over planning, or when you have a project that's massive and it's 1,000 people working on it, you do things like make it unoptimized. Like, why do we have CPU cycles running in the background calculating the paths of characters that we're not going to see? Like, well, there's zero reason for me to be going over a hill and there's characters in game 1,000 kilometers away in game that are walking around and the CPU is processing that. There's zero need for that because you're never going to see it within those many milliseconds or whatever that's being loaded into memory. Like, why do that? That doesn't make any sense. And some of these games are having those problems, and you try to port to a system that isn't designed to work that way, and you're supposed to optimize it. It's going to slow to a crawl. But is that because of the system or is it because of you? Because now you got to look at the project that you made, and then you try to shoehorn it somewhere where it's not going to work like that. So you build the game around what the system could do. And when you see an open world game like Xenoblade Chronicles X working the way that it does, and then you go to Switch, which took care, because the first thing you say, well, you're going to have performance issues in these open world games because we don't like the CPU that Wii U does. Okay, well, Switch solved that issue. So now all the CPU and triggers that you like to use, all the SIMD little lines that you like to use, they're there. So now what are you doing? Why is your game still running like shit on Switch? What are you doing? You were given that, and guess what? You're still in the same envelope, 720p, and now you have even more gigaflops per se for you to use. So your shader mileage will vary, and it'll be better than it was on Wii U. So what's the issue? What is the issue?
Once it hits 150 million sold, then we'll put it on there.
They're killing me with that.
Bro, Shadow,
Day one, everybody should have been dropping ports. Oh, this is taking off.
Shadow, remember what Bandai Namco said about fighters? Fighters couldn't run. 60 million sold. Fighters magically appeared.
Magically showed up.
Kakarot can never run on that. Magically, it appears. How many times Capcom said the RE engine couldn't work with Switch? Didn't we get Monster Hunter Rise? I'm still trying to understand why we ain't got Street Fighter 6. It's the same damn engine.
Well, and that happened because of the whole Activision league, right? So, and then we found out, hey, you know what? So they've been money heading like Capcom for a long time to keep Japanese exclusives. And if it's Japanese exclusive, is there ever going to be just a US version of a Capcom game? No.
Nope.
So that's just, that's one of those weird things. And I'm just like, that makes no sense to me that the only Capcom fighting game on Wii is Tatsunoko versus Capcom. But you go to a weaker system and you put Street Fighter 4 on the 3DS as a launch game.
This is the funny thing that I found about that. And that's why I laugh at Sony. Because I'm like, y'all shot yourselves in the foot with that. Because you know what? That's why y'all hemorrhaging money and had the doggone close down half your doggone studio. Half the shit y'all own. Y'all went from being a conglomerate to don't nobody know anything about y'all but Sony Music and Sony Pictures.
Spider-Man movie. That's about it.
And let's be real, the deal with Marvel actually saved them.
Yeah.
Because if you go back and watch their stuff, their movies have been raking in like that. Venom did not. Venom and Venom 2. Venom had the good fortune of releasing it in a dead month. You find that out because Venom 2 dropped in the summer, and guess what happened?
Yeah, it got destroyed.
Morbius. Do I even need to go into that?
Well, Morbius was its own problem, I guess, but that's neither here nor there. That's I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking for releasing that one either. But
don't get me wrong. I love the animated stuff.
Stop abusing Morb.
Hey, look, it's Morbid time. Don't get me wrong. I love the animated stuff, and personally, if I was Sony, I'd just stick with that because that's clearly making me the most money outside of the MCU stuff, as far as that lane is concerned. But everybody acting like they just knocked it all out the park. The Amazing Spider-Man movies did not do well.
No,
they did not. Both
Spider-Verse though.
Spider-Verse killing it, but y'all call that woke for some reason. Okay.
I mean, that comic book character been around for a long time, but okay.
Since 2001.
Yep. Just like Echo. Echo brand new too. Well, I mean,
woke.
We're kind of like we're giving our age saying that is new, but look, it's 20 years ago.
All I'm gonna say is this: some of y'all really do need to start reading the damn source material before y'all go online and start saying stuff is woke. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I didn't know, because I stopped reading comic books long time ago. So when I'm like, who is Echo? And I'm like, oh, Kingpin. Oh, okay. All right, this makes sense. And I'm like, I don't remember a comic book for this. Then I go and I look at the date and I'm like, 2000. Wait, what?
That's why.
Oh, okay. So
that's why. Because I stopped for like a good 10 years, and then I came back into it. And I'm like, okay, so I've been getting caught up on the stuff I missed. But most of that stuff, I'm like, because side note, when Wakanda Forever dropped, and people was like, oh man, it's woke. They made sure Black Panther, like, she's held that title 4 times in the comics. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, but that's neither here nor there. But I find
she's always next in line for it after T'Challa anyway.
Yeah.
Not Dark World. We're not talking about Echo the Dolphin, even though, yeah, we can't talk about that too. That's a great game.
That was actually a very relaxing game. Very relaxing game back on Saturday.
Yeah.
It was very relaxing.
The Dreamcast one was, oh man, I forgot about that one. Wow.
Yeah, it was a very relaxing game.
Good music too.
Yeah. astounding music.
What a derailment! That's a great derailment. I'll
Yeah.
take it.
Look,
I'll take
I
it.
have said several times if they go ahead and take the Endless Ocean engine, they could make a new Echo the Dolphin game. Nobody listens.
Good. They could.
Hashtag Echo for Smash. Echo the Dolphins for Smash. Hashtag.
He'd be broken. He'd be so broken because he'd make every level a water level, and he'd be able to swim
No.
and do whatever. You can't knock him out.
No, because you know Sakurai would make that jump work and would still not put Waluigi in there. He'll put Echo the Dolphin in over Waluigi.
Trinell, no, I'm not trash talking Tatsunoko. I'm trash talking Capcom because that was almost like a slap in the face.
Well, the other thing too is they used that game to justify them going back to doing versus games.
Yeah,
and refused to put anything on the system that actually got them back into it.
I mean, you could at least put Marvel vs. Capcom 2 on the Nintendo platform. You could have done that. You
want to not couldn't do it. Didn't even want to do it.
Didn't want to do it. Like I'm like, can I get? At that point, I just wanted like Street Fighter 3 ported somewhere. Yeah. And it took a collection on Switch
for them to finally do it.
Yes, which is insane to me.
Yeah. So look, like, because I love Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. Y'all know that. I don't put gameplay of that on the channel a lot. I love Tatsunoko vs. Capcom. I wouldn't mind them doing an HD remaster or something.
It would look nice for sure.
Yeah. So but once again, that's Capcom, and like you said with that whole Activision leak, that's why I was like, Jim Ryan, please keep running your mouth so we can find out what all y'all been doing. And thankfully, he did.
I'll say this too. Remember when people were trying to say that these couldn't happen?
Oh yeah, that is right. Yeah.
And then when the first game came, they're like, "Well, the second game can't come," and I'm like, "You sure about that? You sure?" Because it's like right.
Well, and the other thing too,
right there.
Can we be honest, man? To be completely fair and honest, do you really think that the Xbox fan base, they main fan base, even like games like that? Because
they don't.
Of course, they tried to say, oh, because the whole people are they got so mad at a rumor that Hi-Fi Rush it's not set in stone. Nobody else is reporting it. It's a rumor from a Reddit poster that Hi-Fi Rush or some other big Microsoft game is coming to Nintendo Switch. And I'm like, y'all mad about a rumor, but at the same time, y'all didn't support Sunset Overdrive. If I'm Microsoft, I'm getting that money.
It's almost like it bothers me because you had like little moments there where Xbox fans would like platformers. Yep. So like Inside and I forgot the prequel to it or whatever. But both of those dark games or whatever, they're kind of like platformer-esque or whatever and puzzle based. And then Braid. Like all the talk about Braid at the time, where it was more like, well, this is an intellectual game, and how does the ending like? But the platforming was hell, and you had to understand how to rewind time and all that other kind of stuff. And I'm like, so maybe they're into platformers, and then and then other games come out, and then Ori comes out, and I'm like, y'all should like this since y'all like those other games. And
but for some reason, they magically think if they put Super Mario Wonder on freaking Xbox platform, people think that's gonna sell. No.
That would be one of the biggest wastes of money ever.
Yeah. The only game I could see possibly selling is Metroid Prime. Notice I said Prime, not Dread.
Yeah, Dread would not do well.
Yeah.
Prime probably will because it's a first person shooter.
First person.
But here's the thing. It ain't got no multiplayer.
Yeah. And a lot of people were looking at those games side by side when Halo 2 came out. So it's kind of like the whole Metroid Prime versus Halo thing in 2002, and then Halo 3 came out in 2003, and Metroid Prime 2 came out.
2007 was when Metroid Prime 3 Corruption and Halo 3 went. It was a month apart.
Yep.
They were a month apart. And I will say the good thing about that one, though, for everybody that tried to spew hate, there would be like so much fan art of Samus and Chief side by side that I was kind of happy for that. I was like, some people actually got some common damn sense that both these games can exist because they're both fun.
But that fan art is made by adults, so you know how that goes.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
you know.
Yeah. Nova, I agree. I was hoping. Here's the thing: when people say that
Yes.
should come to the Switch. I'm like the rare replay stuff. That
Yeah.
should come. Perfect Dark, Killer Instinct, all of that should come
Jet Force
because
Gemini, all
Videos on
that.
my channel.
yeah. So
Videos on my channel for those.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that should come. Like Hi-Fi Rush, yeah, it should. I think it would do probably better on both Sony and PlayStation because that's more of like a Sony PlayStation style game. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, you're not wrong. But to be fair though, like what hurts me about that again is the same thing that hurt me about Sunset Overdrive, and I'm like, Microsoft literally tried to give you this game.
They gave it to them.
They're like, it's in a bundle, it's free on, like, download it, please, like, play it, like,
and nobody.
They did not want it.
They was doing everything they could to say, "Hey, go play this really awesome game that makes a lot of jokes that nobody wanted to touch."
Yep.
Like,
and
dude,
some of the like rhythm stuff was kind of there too, with some of the combat. So like, it just seems like that would be like a spiritual homage, in Hi-Fi Rush. Like you get the natural kind of like, hey, this is kind of where we're going with this, kind of vibe anyway. So you would figure like an Xbox fan that would have liked one game would have been at least okay with this one. But I don't think that person exists except me. So
well, now me too, because I love Sunset Overdrive. That game was fun, dude. Sunset Overdrive was fun. I to this day I'm like this. Did y'all get mad because those first two trailers they went to Call of Duty and made fun of them? I'm like, is that why y'all mad?
I loved it, man, and it made fun of itself, which is what Hi-Fi Rush does as well. That whole game is about complaining about game development, which is hilarious. But
and plus, their CEO, their executives are ridiculous.
Yeah.
I love them. They're ridiculous. None as ridiculous as a Squid DJ.
Well, I mean, Squid DJs are great. So.
Yeah, but I mean, they're ridiculous in their own way, and I actually like that about it. I like villains in games like that because they can just like be over the top and not care.
Yeah, and they're over the top, but then self-aware at the same time.
Yeah,
like,
self-aware. Like I'm sorry, when dude's like, I'm sorry, who the hell is this guy? Like, bro, what?
But you walk up to a door and they're like, yeah, when we beat you come back and do this, and I'm like, what? So you're just gonna save the thing? Don't save the thing.
Yeah.
So that's that.
You know what it kind of reminded me of a little bit? Beautiful Joe. I missed that game.
Yeah. Ooh.
I missed that game.
Man, I can only imagine if Beautiful Joe had like
if
it had like timing based on beats.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool.
Dude, I would love look, if Capcom would do me a solid and just let Platinum get their game back. Just do me a solid because y'all ain't
since hold on. Hear me out here. Since Kamiya is no longer with Platinum.
Oh yeah, true.
Kamiya take the IP and finish off the trilogy.
Yeah. Yep. There was one more movie that was supposed to be made. It was one more movie. We never got it. We got the
let Kamiya get together with Grasshopper.
Yeah.
Let Kamiya get together with Grasshopper and then have Sakurai jump in and throw in all the Easter eggs, and you got a complete game for years.
Dude, you got so let Sudafy one, Kamiya and Sakurai on it, bruh.
Yes,
bruh.
But listen, this is the same suggestion I made. This is the same suggestion I made for a Beautiful Joe, a No More Heroes game based on Sunoku. So yeah, I still say that would be a good combo to have a game run on. Plus, the humor's gonna be on point.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful Joe in HD would probably look like how Hi-Fi Rush does.
Yeah.
Just I'm like the spirit is there for sure.
Yeah. Hashtag Beautiful Joe for Smash. But yeah, that's another one that probably needs to get a full on, like every game gets a HD remake.
Yeah, bring them all over.
1, 2, and the DS game.
Also,
that DS game was good. The only game
1, 2, the DS game, and then the Smash game that was on Rumble.
Yeah, I didn't.
Like you still got to include it.
Yeah, you do because it does have a story beat to it that you got.
And look, the humor is still on point. So you still got to include.
Dude, I'm still mad that Part 2 makes fun of the Tyrannosaurus Rex from damn Jurassic Park because he couldn't get no work. After Jurassic Park, he couldn't get no work, so he had to like be a security guard and do like fake acting jobs because nobody would hire him. That was hilarious. In and of itself, that was hilarious. I'm like, wait a minute, this is the T-Rex from Jurassic Park? Yeah, you mean he can't get no job? He literally couldn't get work. That was a joke. He couldn't get work.
So that kind of stuff at the time, and it was real smart at the time too. And that's kind of like Microsoft. You gotta bring Conquer over to Nintendo platforms.
I mean, if you're not gonna do nothing with it,
Live and Reloaded just didn't sell.
That wasn't
it. Just bring it over to Nintendo platforms.
It's kind of like Perfect Dark Zero. You're like, wait a minute, y'all supposed to be the mature platform, and that's what y'all did with those two games.
And then 12 Tales exists, like that game exists somewhere, which is insane. So like, why can't we get like some of these behind demo type things or whatever, and then go from there? So like, I would love to see like Nintendo Switch Online or whatever, and then that version of the game is there, and you're like, hey, you can play 12 Tales. This is before Conquer became Conquer. And so you can play with that, whatever, however short it is, because it's probably just, I don't think it's complete. Like it may have like maybe 2 or 3 levels in it, if I remember from like the early videos from like pre 2000. It was like 2 or 3 levels. That was in the demo.
Didn't they release that like right around the time the Space World demo for Legend of Zelda released?
It was around that time, and then but my thing about that is like, so then some guy decided to post on Twitter and Instagram that they had a full cartridge of it. So
how that game wasn't finished?
Apparently he worked in the studio and he had it. So that was what never got published or what have you. Like I guess it was getting ready to go gold, kind of. But I don't think it was in a final state. I think it's like maybe 2 or 3 levels. I don't think it's
been in a final state, dude. Because like that, no.
So like obviously they had to turn around and rebuild the game and do Conker's Bad Fur Day. So like, which was amazing. But
so basically, you telling me they did what they did with Adventures on Dinosaur Planet? That don't make sense, because even Adventures on Dinosaur Planet wasn't complete.
No, it wasn't complete either. It was and that was an N64 game also.
That was an N64 game, yeah.
And then Resident Evil 0 was an N64 game as well.
That was because
actually didn't somebody release the beta version of that out online somewhere?
Somebody
I don't know. I'm pretty sure somebody's got the ROM at least.
I found that's why I always go back to like, I find it funny when people say stuff can't run, because remember Resident Evil 2 was supposed to be able to run on cartridge.
Yeah, come on, man. Like they just really said, you know what? Now we know what FFmpeg, and we know how
it works.
How to compress video and do DivX video on a cartridge. So here we go, and whole game on N64,
complete with all the cheats.
Go figure. So I say that to, when you look at one of the launch games for Switch was one of the premier games for Wii U, and that was Lego City Undercover. Mm-hmm. That game is literally telling you open world games can come here. GTA can come here.
Yep.
It's literally telling you that, with all the like the high res visuals, all the peak art assets and all the other kind of stuff, the depth of field, all that stuff is there. Build this game, build your GTA game like we built this game, and it will work.
It still kind of runs better on Wii U though, but that's just me.
It probably does. I would imagine it would, because Switch has 2 modes, so it has to. You got to have a compromise somewhere there.
Yeah. Hence why the problem would be with people that wants XCX to be ported to the Switch. No, you don't.
Nah. I'm still with the whole second screen part. Like I just don't see that working well.
No, because people are gonna complain. They're going to complain.
It's doable.
They're going to complain. Yeah,
it's doable, but it won't be as fun because you'd have to stop what you're doing in order to initiate the same things that you can normally just do with a quick button press or tap on the screen.
And that was the other thing too, like getting all those antennas would be horrible, because you have to scroll like a cursor or something to get each one. That's not fun.
I'm not doing it. I'm not doing
that map. That map on a single, doing that map, all those map functions on a single screen that'd be a pain in the ass.
That's a lot of shit on that screen, man. Like
I'm not doing it. I still have my Wii U. I'm not doing it.
So there's got to be like a quick way to jump from point to point or something. Like I don't
They'll have to
know
fast
the way.
travel, or they're gonna take that whole
They're
second
going
map
to
out.
do
Yeah.
what they would end up having to do is a scroll wheel. That's what they'd end up having to do.
And that's not going to be until
Replace a
because
lot of
once you get
things.
to scale, once you hit chapter 5, that's it. It gets because remember now you got to go up in the sky and get stuff.
Whoa! Didn't want to. Didn't I think that was somebody admitted that too? That it was. I think it was Nintendo. One of the Nintendo hardware designers wanted to put a scroll wheel in as a trigger,
And they couldn't
and
do it.
and somebody said no. They turned it down, and
Yeah.
I'm like, oh god,
Because
that
Sakura wanted to
screams
do it.
Doom.
Sakura wanted to put it in place of one of the bumpers, and they
That
were
would be
like no.
amazing.
And then somebody from Monolith Soft wanted to do it, and they was like no.
That would have been amazing.
They told them no for good reason.
Yeah.
It didn't even have to be a bumper. It could just be like another trigger, and
No,
that
it
would
was
be
gonna,
amazing.
it was going to sit above the bumper, like
It would be like LR.
Yeah, it's gonna be another like because you know how on the GameCube controller it was LR and then Z, right?
Mhm.
Well, this is gonna be ZL, ZR, LR, and then the scroll wheel gonna be right on top of that.
Oh, okay. So you just
So,
lift your finger.
But
up.
there was like nah, no. So I'm like, which makes me think like because of you, Shadow, I got 2 8-bit Do controls.
Yes, they are wonderful. I swear by them. They are great. They work great.
The thing is, I think going forward, they just need to add those under the carriage bumpers. Just add them to these because it just makes more sense to just do that going forward as opposed
Just
to
having
like
standard.
yeah, just
Having
having
standard as
across the
normal
board.
buttons.
Yeah.
You mean these things right here? You talking about these on the bottom right
paddles?
here?
Yeah,
These?
the undercarriage paddles.
Yeah. Okay.
They just need to be standard.
I mean,
now,
because
dude.
you could stick 1 or 2 under each controller,
Yeah.
and then you essentially make your controller like a 20-button controller.
So
if all the controllers going to have the same legit set, like PS5, Xbox, Switch are all going to have a controller that has the same button layout, you might as well just put it up under there.
then it have to be right here too. Then on the Joy-Con, I guess. Yeah. That makes sense.
It'll probably be somewhere like that, so it'll be easy, click. So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, they probably need to do that going forward because I'm like, because
I mean, yes, if we ain't gonna have a controller with a touch screen, that's the next best thing.
yeah, because I get third-party controllers, and all the third-party controllers I got paddles up under them.
Yeah, and if it's not a touch screen, maybe a touch pad or something.
Yeah.
But then we're copying Sony, I guess, since they couldn't do a Wii U gamepad.
No, see, I'd prefer a touch screen because a touch screen can be any number of things, whereas the touch pad is only one thing.
But then developers will have to actually use it. Like they got to create dual screen games, and they didn't want to do that for. I mean, magically they were able to do it for one Call of Duty game, but they figured they couldn't do it for more Call of Duty games after that. That bothers me so much.
Which is weird because even back then people were having dual and triple screen PC setups, so you would think they'd start working in that direction to have it as an optional thing for PC.
Gaming without a hood. Madden without a hood. Like I
don't want to go back to it, man. But we kind of have to because a certain loud minority pretty much convinced the entire gaming community that the gamepad was horrible.
Well, it could have been, man. Well, that would have been a great future to have, but.
And now they're trying desperately to figure out how to make that work because now it's amazing how nobody has a problem with VR, but y'all had a problem with the gamepad.
It's so weird.
Well, people had a problem with motion controls, but they don't have a problem with VR. And then they had a problem with the gamepad, which also they don't have a problem with VR. But at the same time, people had a problem with the gamepad, but didn't have a problem with the 3DS.
Not at all. Which made no sense, especially when you start thinking about stuff like Star Fox Zero, which I still to this day laugh at people who complain about talking about the game has horrible control. Like my nephew, who was 7 when that game came out, did not have a problem with it, and your grown 30-plus-year-old behind has a problem with it.
Well, okay. I mean, I guess the issue is
the issue is the psychological one. It's down to your ability to adapt to things, and people thinking oh, it's going to just do this because I pushed this button instead of actually paying attention to how the game actually controls.
I mean, if you're hate watching and hate playing it too, that
Yeah.
kind of. I
The
mean,
only thing I'm mad
you'll
about,
reach the conclusion you want.
the only thing I'm mad about as far as Star Fox Zero is concerned is where's the rest of my anime?
Yeah, good anime.
You gave me episode 1, and I ain't getting nothing else. and to make it so bad, I was on YouTube today, and the show back up in my mentions.
Oh Jesus, man! Look, I got a comment here that was just one of the things that kind of just bothered me. So I'll tell you this one here because this is one that kind of has me. Well, if I can get to it, hold up. Just I get to talking and I get these conversations, and so like, so the quote unquote Switch 2 specs got leaked, right?
Oh, you're talking about the thing that's probably not real, but somebody made it up because he needed some clicks.
Like, how did they get leaked when we're still talking about the same thing that came from the Nvidia leak? So somebody said, "Hey, the Switch is going to be blah blah blah," and now that's a leak. So that Nvidia leak thing, yeah, Nintendo's doing that, and also it means these things. And I'm like, how did you get to these things? They're like, well, it's going to have like 3 to 4 teraflops, and it's going to have this much RAM and blah blah blah. And I'm like, but you don't know what the clock speeds are, and how do you know how many teraflops it's going to? You need the clock speeds to get that, right?
But how did you get to that? Because number one, nobody has. How did you in your great mind get to that?
And so this is based on the T239, right? Which is supposedly an Ampere based SoC. But then they say that it's going to be 4 nanometer, and I'm like, Ampere isn't at 4 nanometer because Ampere didn't have TSMC didn't have that technology when Ampere was built at the time. Everything was 10 nanometer, right? So the process node then was 8N and not 4N or 5N, I think is the name of it for the 4 nanometer part. So are you talking about Lovelace? And if you're talking about Lovelace, you're talking about something that's probably even more capable than T239. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. Probably Nintendo looked at this early on. They customized the hell out of it and probably came up with something final. Or they took one piece from here and one piece from there. So they took the CPU from one variant and combined it with a newer GPU, or vice versa. They took an older GPU part of the SoC and took a newer CPU part. Or they just took new memory from one. Like, there's no telling, because you could package these however you want as a customer for, like, if you want to build a game machine or what have you. So same way AMD did.
Shadow, you just said it's custom. They're not going to tell nobody.
Of course.
It's custom. Like, so people sit up here and say, "Oh, we have the specs." No, you don't. Because number one, if you do know somebody that works at Nintendo, they're not telling you because they want to keep their job.
But even if you do, right?
They're not going to tell you.
You don't know what it's capable of because you don't have access to the SDK and you don't have access to the drivers. You don't have access to the software stack. So you don't know what it's going to do. And the games are in a hypervisor. So that's going to change how performance is going to be too, because the game has to be actively suspended whenever you press the home button. So,
and we don't even know what it is yet. It may not even be a hybrid system. Everybody's coming up with these Adobe mock-ups of what it's going to look like, and I'm like, this reminds me of NX again.
Yep.
And what people came up with looks nothing like the Switch.
Yep. And so, look, I had a discussion on Reddit about this too. What Brand Smith just said. He said people still haven't even figured out what Wii U could truly do. No.
Yep.
And like, this dude was like, well, it didn't have that many G flops, so blah blah blah. I'm like, there's things that Wii U didn't have to do that the other systems did. Like, there's interpolation built into there's a whole IC dedicated to things that you have to throw shaders at on another platform. So chances are when they port a game over there, they don't even take advantage of that. They're just like, throw shaders at it. Oh, we don't have enough, so we're not going to port the game. Like, did you even like try? So if they haven't figured out what Wii U could do, they haven't figured out what Switch could do, and
I mean, when Monolith Soft tells you they didn't max out Xenoblade Chronicles X, that ought to tell you everything you need to know.
Bro,
Takahashi said he didn't max it out.
I don't
max
think
out the Wii U when they made Xenoblade Chronicles X.
I don't think he used all 3 cores.
Let that sink in.
Yeah, I don't think he used all 3 cores.
I think one because they didn't even use a full core for the music.
Nope.
And you know how much music is in damn Xenoblade Chronicles X.
And they don't need to because Wii U has a DSP too, just like Switch does.
But
so program the DSP.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying though. The amount of music it had, you would think that would take up at least what?
Be a whole thread for the
at
CPU.
Least. But nope, it didn't. And like I remember reading that interview, it was one of those Iwata asks situation where they're like, "No, we hadn't even maxed it out." I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
No, we didn't max it out.
I honestly think the only thing that came close to that would be Breath of the Wild, and the reason why it's Breath of the Wild is because Breath of the Wild is memory bound, and even then. With it being memory bound, if they design the game a different way, you probably could still get more out of Wii U. Because like memory is not going to be Wii U strong suit because you're talking about old school DDR. Like it's not that fast versus the eDRAM that's in the system. So if there was a streaming algorithm that would effectively stream that data from the DDR that's slow into the eDRAM as a temporary cache. Who knows? Nintendo might already be doing this, but there might be a way to speed up things a little bit.
I don't know if it was maxed out. All I know is I remember our Newman talking about this. Like he really did mean when you see something, we want you to be able to go to it, and he meant that. So that's why Breath of the Wild maybe, but I don't even know because
I think it's because of the way it was designed. So like since it was memory bound, if you make anything memory bound, you're gonna have problems on Wii U because like Wii U isn't designed to look at my main memory and run everything out of that. Like it's not designed that way. Not for rendering stuff. Like if you just have like regular like basic code or whatever for DDR or little assets that you're moving to and from in and out of eDRAM, yeah, but the DDR is so much slower than the eDRAM. Like you never want to do anything that requires a quick result directly out of that. So you got 1 gig of RAM that's significantly slower than the eDRAM, and you wanna play with that and stream that the best way possible. That's the whole point of having a memory hierarchy, so you can move things around. Like you got your levels of cache, which are progressively slower the higher you go, L1, L2, L3, and then you have your cache for your frame buffer and your texture cache, and then you have everything else, and it's a scratch pad as well. And then you have your regular main memory. I would not design a game around, hey, let's run everything out of DDR on the Wii U. Which they may have had no choice in doing that, depending on the size of the game. But I'm going to say no because the game only requires a partial install, and it's still running directly from the disk, and the bandwidth on that disk is slow. So, yeah, Nocturnal at Night looks amazing. Where did the fear monger for next gen Switch come from? People acting like Nintendo never did backwards compatibility before. Because of a video that MVG did, and I replied to it. Well, I did a response video to that.
It's just people assuming things,
and it's IG. It's a mix of things. It's IGN, and it's Reddit. Because there are people who just post stuff on Reddit forums and saying they know this and that, and you're like, "There's no way you know this."
But here's the break in their logic. Here's the break in their logic and the stupidity behind it. Because everyone will say, and they'll say it to their advantage, that the Switch is a handheld. Okay, what does Nintendo do with their handhelds? They make them backwards compatible with at least the prior generation.
Every time.
I mean, even if they did, right? Say like, let's say MVG is right? And he said, well, some of this code just can't be read because of the way the program. First of all, Nintendo owns the subroutines, they own the hypervisor, and they can modify that at will. and it's hybrid. It's not a true monolithic type of um of of a hypervisor. So like you can't, that software stack is malleable based on Nintendo's needs and firmware. They can change whatever they need to do going forward or backwards. They can update Switch's firmware today and it'd be completely different from anything that it was at launch, right? To include how it handles software in the hypervisor. My issue with people worrying about backwards compatibility is Nintendo literally created a CPU that should not physically exist, just so it could be multi-core and still be backwards compatible with Wii. Like it should not exist. They took a CPU that is not designed to be multi-core and made it multi-core, just so they could have a system that could be directly backwards compatible with Wii games with no thought in between. And somehow, when you boot up into Wii mode on Wii U, it tricks itself into thinking the eDRAM is 1TS RAM, and it's only running one core, and it doesn't see any of the main memory. Somehow, it is able to do that, and you're gonna say those same architects do not exist within Nintendo proper going forward with a system they co-designed with NVIDIA and its successor.
Well, let me ask this question. Nintendo has always done one thing, and that's build on what they've already done.
Yeah.
Why would they stop? Why would they start not doing that? I mean,
and that's the other thing. They said they're gonna build on Switch Online and all that too. Yeah. They plan on all that stuff in Nintendo account moving forward. Why wouldn't everything else move forward too?
Yeah, and Darvo, to answer your question, I'm like, nobody liked backward compatibility until Microsoft started doing it. Because if you remember, the Wii U was backward compatible to the point where it was ridiculous. Yeah. What did we always hear, fellas? I bought this system to play new games. That's all I heard, Jen.
Oh yeah, that was the PS4 excuse. Yeah, because PS4 wasn't backward compatible with PS3.
And now that the roles reversed and Microsoft started doing it, oh man, this is all about game preservation. Mm-hmm. Man, miss me with that nonsense.
If you truly believe in game preservation, and this is a discussion I want to have with any of those idiots on Twitter, if you're worried about Nintendo doing it and game preservation, I'm like, you need to reach back to those NES days and start talking to those licensing companies. Yeah. Because LJN and all, if they still exist, and who the original license holder is, and why they're being an asshole and not letting this game get republished elsewhere.
Because remember, Phil Spencer came out and said, like, look, the reason why we had to stop is because we can't find the licenses.
Yes. And other things too, like with existing properties, it took until 2022 for all the Team Ninja games to be like, all the Dead or Alive did not work in backwards compatibility on Series X.
No. And
so
what was it? What was the game they was trying to get? They had to go to Sony Music because Sony wouldn't release the music. That's why they couldn't put it on until Sony released the music.
I forget which game it was. What was it? DOA 3? Maybe
I think it was because Sony had Sony had the rights to all the music, so they couldn't get it to do the backward compatibility until Sony said, "Okay, we'll do it."
Yeah, that kind of stuff is just strange, man. Like, think about where is GoldenEye right now. Like that kind of situation. How long that took to even be a thing to even be revealed on the Xbox side of the house to let you know how many hands are in that pot.
I mean, remember the Wii version? They couldn't use Pierce Brosnan. They had to use Daniel Craig. Yeah, it was GoldenEye with Daniel Craig in it because they couldn't use Pierce Brosnan because I forgot what the reason was for that. That was with MGM.
MGM, and then because MGM owned his likeness.
Yeah.
So, and that's just crazy.
That's crazy.
You're a whole human being and you don't own your likeness. Like
and that's the thing that I don't think people understand when they keep talking about game preservation and all this. I'm like, dude, do you understand how many licenses and stuff you have to find to get your favorite game or your favorite obscure title that you just have to play that ain't been around for 30 years?
and then the games they use as an example too. They're like, oh, well, I can't play this one obscure game that was only on 3DS. And I'm like, did you buy it on 3DS?
Yeah.
Because you could buy it today if you want
Yeah.
to. Oh, but it's $1 million. I'm like, no, not
That's-
really.
That sounds like a personal issue.
Well, what about people who can't do it now? But did you do it?
Can you do it?
Oh, well, I did. Then what are you complaining about?
We talking about you. We ain't talking about everybody else. We talking about you.
What are you complaining about? And they don't want to say that because the whole point is I want to bitch about it, quote unquote, not being available for preservation. And I'm thinking about the catalog of stuff that Nintendo they never even published it in the United States, and they brought them over in future platforms.
Yeah.
So, Star Fox 2 is on the SNES Classic behind me. Like that didn't exist for a very long time, and they brought it here anyway.
Brand, that's one of the main reasons I don't think we got that new one yet. Because of like we talking about music, and some of those rappers unfortunately ain't alive anymore. So there's a whole Now
they're
don't
not
get me
alive
wrong
anymore. They don't have an agent, and they don't own their masters. Good luck.
Yeah. Now don't get me wrong. I would love to get at least Vendetta ported, but that's the.
But Vendetta's even older, so it's probably even more issues with that one.
Yeah. So now, if they ever would have went through, which one they were supposed to be doing next, Miami or Atlanta? It was Miami or Atlanta or Houston. I think
it was Miami.
Yeah. Then I think the other one was supposed to be in like Atlanta after that because they were supposed to do the whole Dirty South.
They did Atlanta. That'd been insane.
Yeah. But I would love for the Def Jam games to get ported, but I would not want to have to be in the licensing department. I'll put it like that because that sounds like a nightmare.
So again, Nintendo has nothing to do with that, and I think that's the bulk of the conversation, really, because people only remember Nintendo for being a popular platform, and they played a lot of third-party games on it.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that Nintendo isn't what it used to be. It's like Nintendo was the default system, and that was the system that you had then. So you played all those non-Nintendo games on it, and those non-Nintendo games aren't there now. So that's your complaint.
And it's doesn't because even like Sony and Microsoft can't do anything about it.
Yep.
Like they do have licensing departments, by the way. They do have because they have to check. They have checks.
It's like, what? Well, I like Super Turrican. Well, I'm like, well, I'm sorry, Factor 5 no longer exists as a company, so I don't know what else to tell you.
I like Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
and Lucasfilm is around. So
well, it's LucasArts now, but
but I'm just saying,
or Lucasfilm Gaming.
Yeah, they're still around, and I like them, and they ain't budging. So we all got stuff that we like. Okay, it is what it is. Now, do I believe that game preservation is something that should be looked at? Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm. But the problem is the way people complain now about physical versus digital, they're not gonna put that stuff on physical. They trying to cut costs. And last thing before we get out of here, I'm gonna really need people. I understand the physical versus digital mindset. I really understand it, but at the same time, some of y'all are being ridiculous about it. Because if you really think the newest Call of Duty is all on one disc, you have lost your ever-loving mind. So you still in the same boat I'm in.
Glorified CD key.
Yeah. You're in the same boat I'm in. If they just decide to delist it, it's just delisted. That it is what it is. Because some of y'all need to go and look at because they do it on every platform. I have a PS4 Pro, I got a Series X, and I have a Switch. On every platform, they tell you how many gigs, what the size of the daggone game is.
Oh, they know because they to poke fun at Nintendo, the first thing they do is they post a little logo on the back of a Switch box that says download required. Well, it's always required on the other platforms. Yeah. So
why are you buying a physical version of a disc that you know there ain't nothing but a doggone key for? If you buy anything physical for Xbox,
you might just download it.
Yeah, because you're stupid.
I got what game was that? I think it was Halo. So I got Halo, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, I'm like, I'm just gonna, because I have all the other physical copies of Halo. So I'm like, all right, let me just to do the thing, so I can look at my cabinet and see all the Halo games, right?
And guess what?
First thing I do is download. Like,
So what was the point?
What was the point?
What was the point? So you're still in the same boat as everybody else. Yes, you have a disc that does absolutely nothing. All it does is confirm that you bought the game. When you put that disc in, you still have to download the game. So if I put the disc in and I can't play it from the disc and I still have to download the game, why did I buy this? Why did I buy this worthless disc in this worthless case?
I mean,
I bought
everybody
this
needs
CD key.
coasters.
Yep.
It doesn't even have
Everybody
a
needs
manual in it.
coasters.
They're not worth anything at that point because
Yeah.
all you're doing is just sending a key up to the store, and then you're marking the serial number of your platform, and then now you get a license to go on the CDN to pull down the software.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it. So yeah, you laughing at me for having half and half, but I'm laughing at you because guess what? In 10 years, when you can't play this system and it breaks, guess what's gonna happen?
Yep.
You got a paperweight now. Unless Sony and Microsoft and Nintendo back it up to their cloud, which you're hoping they do. So
I forgot
we're all
who it
in
was.
the same boat.
There was somebody I was having a conversation with before about we're talking about updating the iPods and whatnot. I don't know. I'll probably try to do a video about that for whoever was that had that. I'll just put the video on Twitter or whatever so they can see the process because we're talking about that at one point and I nerded out and it was an amazing conversation. So, but yeah, if you want to update your iPod, I can always add like 512 gigs to an iPod for you, or at least show you how it works anyway. But no, yeah, Wii U wasn't maxed out, so we know that Switch wasn't going to be either because people weren't even they're not trying. I believe
Nintendo's trying. Nintendo, Garage Studio and Grezzo and Monolith, they're trying.
I believe Doom could look a little bit better. I believe Doom Eternal could look a little bit better. They just need more time to refine those games and update them.
Which they probably didn't have.
I think, and as good as it looks and it plays, I think ARMS could probably look a little bit better. It could just be 1080p, 60 frames probably.
ARMS needs a story mode in Little Mac.
It does.
It does. Story mode in Little Mac.
And Dalsim is DLC.
I was going to say Dalsim and Necros from Street Fighter.
And Samus for obvious reasons.
And Elastigirl.
Yeah. And Cereza.
I mean, at that point, you might as well have Plastic Man, Mr. Fantastic, Stretch Armstrong.
No. We don't put Miss Fantastic in this. No. we ain't doing that. Luffy. We'll put Luffy in instead of Miss Fantastic.
Okay. Oh, you can put Roll in there. You can put Roll in there. She has like the
Roll. Yeah.
Yep. So
Cereza. Hashtag Cereza for ARMS.
Yeah. Cereza for ARMS.
Cereza and Twin Tail tag team match.
I'm all about it.
The artwork that will come out of that, boy. Woo!
The Rule 34 that will come out of that. God.
Super Bowl will probably die.
You a little late on that. That's already been created.
That's
Oh man, that's crazy. All right, people, we gotta stop it here because we could probably go for another 5 hours, and I don't want to do that to anybody because I want to play this Grand Blue Relink demo that finally finished downloading. So I put up a video last night of Prince of Persia. I did a Let's Do This Quietly demo for Prince of Persia, and I think you guys will like it if you like 2.5D. I don't like calling it Metroidvania, but 2.5D side-scrolling action game. I think you guys will like it. So check it out. You can check out the video. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. We do have the Winging It Podcast Sunday. We're going to be doing our annual rumor mill episode. So y'all know how we do. We're going to make up some ridiculous stuff. We're going to see if y'all can find out if are we on point or are we just lost our mind collectively?
Alibi. Did you guys actually list your games of the year last week?
Yeah, we did.
I missed that one. Okay, all right. So I'll just do a video reviewing that, and I'll talk about mine. That's fine. I'll do that.
But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing Sunday. We're going to be doing our annual rumor mill because Switch 2 specs. Y'all ain't got a name right. It'd be funny if the name is like Super Switch NES Combo Edition.
Listen,
I'm
telling you,
Combo Edition.
It'll be something. Switch Plus.
It's gonna be called the Nintendo Switch Cross with an X at the end.
I wouldn't doubt that either.
With a coffin for Simon Belmont. But all right, Shadow, anything you want to pimp out?
Other than the video. I don't know how I'm magically gonna do, but yeah, that. Also, channel did. Yeah, you'll see me. I'll do probably maybe a Twitter live. I was gonna do one yesterday, but no, I got busy because I have a life and I'm employed. Unlike other people think. So yeah. That's all I got, and y'all know my tagline, so I don't have to say it. So that's it.
All right, Andre, what you got?
I mean, there is the follow up to the Zelda Grass is Greener video that
You are trying
nobody
to get people to
wants
hate
to.
you.
Look,
Look,
but it's
listen,
a good video.
people,
Like
no, the fact that people spun the block for the first video, but
Bruh,
didn't
they
come
did.
back for the
did
second
they?
video is what pisses me off.
They
I'm like,
really
I
did
even
spin the
posted
block.
the link. I posted the link in the chat in the comments section, so people be like, "Oh, there's more to it." Like, nah, a bunch of people went to the first video to have their little gang war, but didn't want to come to the second video.
They spun the block like it was Luffy and Alabasta. I'm like, yeah, dog.
They was spinning the block like 45 times, coming
You
back,
like Zelda?
listening to
You
the
like
video and argue with each other. But what bothers me more though is there's somebody who makes a video making damn near the exact same arguments as me, and that video was popular.
Well,
I'm
you know
like,
how that goes.
is it because it's me?
It's
Ow.
because you have to be a certain guy that sits down in front of the camera, and you got to have the low light with the LEDs in the background.
No,
You just say, "Hey
no,
guys, today
I
what
can
we're
say
gonna
it to
talk
the
about."
credit of this person. They did not do that. They did
Oh
theirs
wow!
pretty much the same way I did mine.
Oh,
So that's why I'm like, is it just me? Is it because I sound a little pompous and I don't realize it? Like,
I thought it was fine. Honestly, I thought it was fine. I don't know why. I don't know why people got in their feelings. I really don't.
I think I'm gonna take one of your videos, Andre, and I'm gonna, instead of it just being a headless voice, I'm going to recreate the video with a sock puppet, and we're gonna see exactly how well that video does. Like I will mouth it perfectly, and we'll be good. And then
man, look, don't get yourself copyright infringed by a little blue puppet.
it's okay. I'll just make the puppet look as close to the Cookie Monster as possible, and then we're good.
Well, no, if you're gonna do it for me, to do Elmo because he's red.
Jeez. Oh boy.
Do a variation on the Elmo name. Yeah, I can do that too.
Yep,
That'll work. That'll work. Just
Elmo L.
All right, people, man. All right. So we're going to call it a night. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for joining. Please leave a comment. Share it out to your friends, family, if you like our content. Don't forget to check out the Prince of Persia Lost Crown demo gameplay. It's about an hour and 10 minutes. I think I did it last night. I'm going to try to, well, I'm not going to try to. I am going to jump on Grand Blue Relink tomorrow. I'll probably do it in the morning because I got some stuff to do tomorrow afternoon. So I'll probably have a morning live stream of that. So check that out. Giving my PS4 Pro some love. So check that out. And don't forget Sunday, Winging It Podcast, as well as supposed to have a fresh take with Vicky. We're going to do a review of What If Season 2. So stop by at 10 a.m. Sunday morning. So to catch that as well. And we'll see you guys later. Peace out, people.
later, y'all.
Peace.
Play Killer Instinct. Watch Book of Clarence.